You know, recently I've become obsessed with the idea of lists. More specifically, rankings. I don't know, I just like seeing things organized in a nice long list, one by one, from worst to... Okay, we don't have time for this. We're ranking all the stages in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a very, very large game, and if you need any proof of that, then I'll just point you in the direction of this 45-second clip of Nintendo sucking their own dicks over just how large they made this game. But I mean, it deserves it. It's an incredible crossover from so many different corners of gaming. But not only is it a massive crossover fighting game, it's also just a celebration of video games as a whole. And nowhere is that more obvious than the stage selection. Did you really think I was going to say the character roster? Honestly, what does Pichu bring to a celebration of video games that Woohoo Island doesn't? While the characters in Smash Bros. Clearly have so much love and care and attention to detail and expert craftsmanship and yada yada whatnot put into them, that's hard to appreciate if there's nowhere to actually show it all off, which is why the stages are just as, if not more important than the characters. And I am going to rank all 115 of them from worst to best. Okay, honestly, at this point, I would actually rather just get a hysterectomy or something. Is it too late to change my mind? Alright, a couple guidelines on how I'm going to rank these things. Number one, we're only going to be ranking the normal forms of the stages. I could rank the Battlefield and Omega forms, but then the list would just look something like this. Number two, we're going to be playing with the stage hazards turned on to get the full stage experience. Even though you can turn them off, and most stages are actually better with them off, turning the stage hazards on is really the true intended way to play the stages. Number three, this list is based off nothing other than my opinion. I didn't take into consideration how competitively viable a stage is, or how good the pancakes are, or whatever. It's literally just based off whether I like a stage or not. So if you have a problem with that, you can shove it up your ass. Number four, Nintendo claims there are 116 stages in the game, but that 116th stage they're referring to is the training stage, and it's not a part of this list because I have no idea how we would even begin to go about ranking it. Number 0, the training stage. Alright, and number 5, we're not covering custom stages due to the obvious fact of literally anyone can make one, so there's hypothetically an infinite amount of them. Maybe check back with me next year, I don't know. Now, there are still a lot of stages in this game, so I've decided to make it easier for myself by splitting the stages up into categories. It's kind of like a tier list, except it's stupider because instead of using letters like a normal person, the categories have actual names. First up is auto-scrollers.
Remember that time I talked about Super Mario Bros. 3 and complained about the auto-scroller stages in that game?
Having the screen scroll automatically just completely kills the pace of the game and makes everything so tedious.
Okay, now imagine that, but now you're also having to worry about beating the shit out of another person while also avoiding getting the shit beaten out of yourself. Every single one of the auto-scrollers is at the bottom of this list, with the 115th slot going to none other than Dreamland GB. This stage is small, which means it's even easier to get lunch than other small stages thanks to the screen scrolling. The platform layouts are also kinda awkward since they're so small and the screen is also, again, constantly scrolling, so it just feels way harder to calculate where you're gonna land. Sure, the screen stops moving at some points, but even in these areas, the platform layouts still just feel really cramped. Also, this stage is disgusting to look at. I get it, the Game Boy had a limited color palette where they could only use black and a shade of green that I feel like I have to bleach my eyes every time I look at. Yeah. This stage is claustrophobic, obnoxious, and hideous, and I have no shame in saying it's my least favorite stage in the entire game.
As for the rest of the auto-scrollers,
Scrolls too fast and has horrible franchise representation. Scrolls way too fast. Scrolls too fast and is ass ugly. Scrolls too fast and goes in all 4 directions, not just forward. However, I do like the boat section, so this is probably my favorite of the auto-scrollers. I'm noticing a pattern here. Yeah, the biggest problem with these is that they all just scroll so damn fast. Like, I feel like these would be a lot more bearable, hell, maybe even fun, if they just decreased the scroll speed. Oh, and also I need to complain about this. Pac-Land is 114 because there was this fucking incredible Pac-Man stage based off the original Pac-Man maze in Smash for 3DS, and I have no idea why they chose this Mine Grain Factory over this clearly superior option that actually references what everyone thinks of when they think of Pac-Man.
Okay, I just looked up what a hysterectomy is. I take back what I said about that. The next category is big stages.
The problem with the big stages is just that. They're really fucking big. Now, most of these were added in Smash 4 to compensate for a new feature added in that game. 8-player Smash. These are still too big even for 8 people. 110, the Great Cave Offensive, you got that right. It's massive, and yet it's got so many different cramped tunnels and pathways and different sections that it makes it feel even bigger than it already is. 109, Palutena's Temple. It's large. It's just so large. It's literally the biggest stage in the game. And you've even got this platform that comes down and adds even more stage as if there wasn't enough of it already, but hey, at least it's not cramped and closed off. 108, Newport City. It's a bit smaller than the previous 2, but it's also got a very weird platform layout that almost seems completely random. There's also this monster thing that instantly kills you if you get too close to it. It's actually not a bad stage hazard. It's slow enough and patrols a small enough area that if you get killed by it, then it's pretty much your fault. Still don't like the stage though.
Now, I'm going to skip a couple of the big stages because one of them is awesome and the rest are just... okay. That being said, let's bring up the just plain bad stages.
75 meters actively hurts my feelings. Tiny platforms, obnoxious stage hazards, the severe lack of floor, it all just culminates into something that is just not fun to play on at all. What I find weird is that this is the level they chose to represent Arcade Donkey Kong, even though literally any of the other levels would have made a better fit. Mario Bros. Has a cramped platform layout, you can't pass through any of the platforms, and it's one of the few stages where running off the screen will have you loop around to the other side, which means you have to get launched at a certain speed to get KO'd. But, since you can just bounce off all the platforms, you also lose a lot of momentum, meaning you just live for a very long time on this stage, and it's funny for the first talk, but then it just gets old and stops being fun. Balloon Fight has a similar problem, except it's not as closed off, so it's a little easier to get kills. However, it has a different problem in the form of this little electric ball thingy and these balloon spin thingies that do a fuck ton of damage and launch super far for no reason, and it's dumb. Wily Castle has the Yellow Devil. Do I really need to say anything past that? I like the platforms that appear, but Wily Castle has the Yellow Devil. Magic Hand has the Flying Man, same story, different stage. Summit has the obnoxious habit of breaking apart, sliding down this mountain, landing in the ocean where there's a giant fish, rinse and repeat. Also, it's slippery. Spear Pillar has an annoying design that can lead to an insane amount of camping from your opponents, which leads to no one having fun. Also this. And this. Also this. I hate it. Hand and Bow! Nobody likes Hand and Bow. The platforms are confusing, the water is confusing because it's not real water, it's ugly to look at, and the only good thing about it is that I can use it as a green screen. Yoshi's Island Melee! This stage has a similar problem to Mario Bros. In that people have a tendency to live for a very long fucking time on this stage. The slopes cancel out almost all your momentum when you get launched into them, and just like with Mario Bros., it's only funny the first time when someone refuses to die here. Flat Zone X just has stage hazards that really aren't my favorite. Half the time they just look like background elements and then they hurt you and it's annoying. Also, I think it has something to do with the Game & Watch style and music, but this stage just has a very gross energy to it. I don't know. Venom is dumb. Having to navigate around the ship on the angled platforms that make it hard to land some attacks is dumb. The stage isn't fun. Mute City isn't the worst stage ever, but it's not great. Since you take damage from touching the ground and can take damage from the vehicles too, these two platforms become the only viable fighting spot, but the problem with that is they're small and on opposite ends of the stage, which makes fighting become very cramped and annoying. Green Hill Zone is similar to Yoshi's Melee, where you've got this giant slope that cancels all your momentum, and you can also break a ton of the ground, further limiting the fighting space on what is already a pretty small stage. Brinstar Depths spins! Need I say more? This is all just the problem I have with auto-scrollers, albeit it's not as prevalent since it's confined to a single area and it's not constant.
Holy shit! Did you guys know there's a surgery called rotation plasty? And they take the middle section out of your leg and then reattach your foot backwards to where they cut your leg off, and it's to take tumors out of your knee area? Anyways, the next stages are the ones I can actually tolerate playing on.
These stages are generally pretty okay, but they have one rather prominent issue that prevents me from liking them. Reset Bomb Force is a pretty good stage until it explodes and you're taken to what I think of loose interpretation of what a large intestine looks like. And the platforms can break, and there's this bone snake that does way too much damage, and I just don't like this section very much. And most of these stages follow this trend, where they're fine on their own, but the hazards kind of muddy the experience. Find Me's Emperor and Collapsing Stage, which can leave just this tiny little platform, what the hell? Brinstar's Acid Flooding, Distant Planet's Rain, Wrecking Crew's Tallness and Constant Explosion, and Port Town Aerodrive's Vehicles and Visual N-ness. Then we come to Gower Plain, one of the big stages I refused to mention earlier. While it's still big, it's not disgustingly large. However, it is still a little large for 2 to 4 people by itself. However, this stage is actually kind of saved by its stage hazard. Randomly Metal Face will show up and destroy half the stage, so not only do you have a more reasonable amount of stage to work with, but you can also beat the shit out of Metal Face if you want to, and that's fun. It's still not a great stage, but I don't hate it. Windy Hill Zone is just a moderately better Green Hill Zone, and that's all there is to say about that. Moray Towers is a testament to the idea that 25 meters would have been a way better arcade Donkey Kong stage than 75 meters. I mean, it still isn't amazing, but it is better than 75 meters. And then we've got 4 Smash 64 stages in a row. Super Happy Tree, Peach's Castle, Saffron City, and Congo Jungle. These don't really have too much wrong with them, but they're also not my favorite. They are still very iconic and classic Smash stages, but there are also better stages to come out of Smash 64. Big Blue ain't too bad, despite it technically being an auto-scroller, but it scrolls so fast that what it really is just a platform with a very fast-moving ground underneath it. And there are also plenty of things that come along and save you if you fall. Duck Hunt's also pretty good. I like being able to actually attack the birds almost like you're playing Duck Hunt, but it's also nothing amazing past that. Most of the 8-bit stages, well, I get what they were going for, just aren't all that visually interesting compared to the detailed backgrounds of the other stages. They just end up feeling like you're playing in the actual game rather than the world of that game, which, again, I get is what they were going for, but that doesn't mean I have to like it. Paper Mario's fine, but the stage hazards are a little too intrusive sometimes. And then there's Pirate Ship, which is just the Pirate Ship section from Paper Mario, except as a full stage, and it also came before Paper Mario. I do like it, but these cannonballs can be kind of annoying to dodge and do an absurd amount of damage if you get hit by them. Corneria, Halberd, alright, what's next?
Appendectomy.
These are the stages that are very basic and have little to nothing going on. They generally don't have stage hazards, and if they do, they're probably pretty minor or just add to the stage experience. Like both the Unova and Kalos Pokemon Leagues, Mushroom Kingdom U, Coliseum, and Arena Ferox, which are literally the exact same stage except one has ledges, Bridge of Eldin, Mushroom Kingdom 2, and Pokemon Stadiums 2 and 1. We've also got Golden Plains, which is an auto-scroller, but it also gets a pass for not constantly scrolling, and when it does scroll, it barely moves at all, so it's fine. Foresight is a city, and there's a UFO. That's cool. And then, it's Battlefield but large, it's Battlefield with a wind box, it's Battlefield but Yoshi flavored, it's Battlefield but Kirby flavored, again, it's Battlefield with some actually fun stage hazards, it's Battlefield but it's missing a platform, it's Battlefield. Final Destination.
And now I would like to take a moment to add a little subcategory. Cramming as many references into a stage as possible.
The traveling stages are literally all exactly the same. couple of platforms fly around an area from some game, touch down in a specific section in that area for a little bit, then they come back up in a slightly different formation and go to a different section, rinse and repeat X amount of times until it's gone everywhere noteworthy. So, here they all are ranked. Bam, 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 bam. Moving on. Lilac Cruise, Hyrule Castle, another big stage that isn't too big and also isn't too busy, so it's actually pretty cool. Castle Siege, Town and City, Smashville, Hollow Bastion, Yoshi's Island, Great Plateau Tower, Wii Fit Studio, Yggdrasil's Altar, Northern Cave.
What? What did you want me to say? Like I said, these are very basic stages. They don't really have that much going on with them. And as such, there is not that much to say about them. But now we have finally reached the top of the list. These next 37 stages were very hard to rank because they are all so close to each other.
Garden of Hope and Boxing Ring both fall into the classic category of big but not too big and also pretty flat, so their bigger size is more manageable.
That name is still a work in progress.
But either way, I really like them. They've got some fun gimmicks that aren't super annoying, and they're both large enough to avoid said gimmicks relatively easily. Figure 8 Circuit I like for no other reason than personal bias towards Mario Kart DS. Green Greens is just a nice stage and looks pretty. Skyworld can be destroyed and that's fun. Spiral Mountain is cool. Mishima Dojo is just a lamer version of the King of Fighter Stadium, but regardless, I still like it. Umber Clock Tower is cool. Dracula's Castle is cool. Princess Peach's Castle just has a fun layout and also has Banzai Bells. Jungle Japes can be annoying, sure, thanks to the water, but it mostly just leads to characters with amp recoveries getting stuck forever until someone gets them out, which is hilarious. Mario Galaxy is round, Luigi's Mansion can be destroyed, and that's fun. Tomodachi Life is cool, Congo Falls is pretty, Frigate Orpheon flips upside down, and that's a little disorienting, but also very cool, and it would be higher on the list, except the alarm that plays whenever the stage is about to flip is the same sound I used to set for all my real-world alarms, and then I started hearing the sound everywhere, and now it makes me anxious every time I hear it, so now Frigate Orpheon is number 22. Living Room has a fun gimmick and a dog, Tortimore Island is cool, On It has a drugstore, Norfair is Brinstar done 1000% better, Picture Check 2 is cool, Temple is the best big stage in the game, like it's got so many cool places to fight without being overwhelming. Great Bay has a giant turtle on a pretty fun layout. Beyond that, Gerudo Valley also has a really fun layout and can be destroyed, and that's fun. Mushroom Kingdom is easily the best Smash 64 stage. Minecraft World is cool. Spring Stadium has one of the best gimmicks for a stage I have ever seen in the form of these spring platforms. Gamer is terrifying. Pilot Wings is just really relaxing. Memento has a train of walls. Suzaku Castle, I don't know, I've always really liked the layout of. And King of Fighter Stadium has probably my favorite stage gimmick in the entire game.
And finally, we enter the top 5. I cannot believe I actually ranked all 115 of these things. But more importantly, I cannot believe that there is a surgery to remove my gallbladder. I don't even know what a gallbladder is. Huh. Interesting. Apparently it just holds this stuff that, like, helps digest fats or whatever. But you can also just get it removed if you feel like it. Who knew? Anyways, top 5.
Super Mario Maker has always been one of my favorite stages. I love how the layout is randomized every time you show up, and I love how the stage actually changes between the original Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Worlds, and New Super Mario Bros. U styles. It may not be the most complex or amazing stage out of the lineup, but I've always had a soft spot for it. Okay, this is literally just due to my love for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's not even that cool of a stage, but I like being able to say I get the reference to everything. I mean, Xenoblade 2 representation was all I wanted from the Smash DLC, and the fact that I got it still makes me very happy, so I'm just naturally biased towards this stage. Wow, I think I just really like being able to break stages, because Shadow Moses Island is really fun. I just like that the only way you could get KOs is to launch fighters upwards unless you break the walls on either side, which, let's be honest, everyone does because it's so damn satisfying. It's just such a fun stage that can lead to some pretty intense matches if you and your opponent are skilled enough. Spirit Train is awesome! The way the train gets pushed around, which could drastically change its layout. The fact that if you throw someone off the back and they fail to recover, they just immediately get left behind. The way you could get damaged if you get hit by the front of the train, but you can also hide on this tiny ledge at the front too. And it's also just really pretty. The cartoon-style Zelda games just have really nice art styles, and this stage emulates that perfectly.
And coming in at number 1, WarioWare Inc. I don't know, This was a very hard list to make.
WarioWare Inc. was probably my favorite stage back in Brawl, and I was beyond excited to see it back in Smash 4, and then was excited again to see it back for Ultimate. It's just such a creative stage, working in microgames that work in the context of Smash Bros. And then providing item boosts if you succeed at those microgames. It's just hectic and chaotic and pure unbridled fun. I love it.
And that is all of the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate stages ranked from worst to best. I think. Number 0, the training stage. Well, that's my take on how good or bad the Smash stages are. If you have any disagreements with this list, feel free to send an email to idon'tcare@youropinionsucks.com voicing your complaints. Just kidding, you can't do that because that email doesn't exist because I don't care and your opinion. So, what did we learn? Well, this list is probably going to change in 5 minutes considering I put Congo Jungle at number 81. I'm gonna have to change that. Also, we learned a surprising amount about surgeries today. That being, we learned anything about surgeries today. Well, it just goes to show that anything can be made into a learning experience. Wait, that is not what I want the takeaway from this to be. Is it still too late to change my mind? I want to talk about the DSLs instead.